Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 8 of Proof of Ergo, the newscast built for Ergonauts, by Ergonauts, featuring Ergonauts, as we talk about anything and everything having to do with the Ergo Extended Unspent Transaction Output blockchain. I'm James Kever, and here's what's coming up on today's show. Kushti releases a new node. We'll fill you in on the new features. We'll talk to two partners on the getblock.io team about the first mining pool built entirely on smart contracts. We'll take a look at the projects that placed in the latest ErgoHack. Then we'll talk to Crypto Quokka, project lead for the SkyHarbor NFT Marketplace. And finally, Tosi Hack 2022, Build the Dip. It is on. What's this all about and what organizers hope to see? That's all coming your way this show. But before we get into all of that, a quick reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed with that bell notification clicked. We're also on other platforms as well, Apple, Spotify, and Amazon, just to name a few. So be sure to check those out, especially if you're into audio-only podcasts. All right, Alex Chapernoy, aka Kushti, and the Ergo development team have recently released Node 4.0.33 and 3.4. Nodes can now send mass payments, which is a payment with many recipients. This is essentially an airdrop function built directly into the node. There are also some bug fixes, code refactoring, and some new features that help with backwards compatibility. Now, backwards compatibility is necessary because Ergo protocol updates are always soft forks. Old versions of nodes will still be running, so the team ensures new updates don't break when operating alongside older nodes. For more details on this, we'll link to the GitHub page in the description of this newscast. But in even bigger news, 5.0 is now live on testnet. This includes important updates such as JIT, or just-in-time costing. For large smart contracts such as ErgoPad staking, developers have noted a 4 to 5 times increase in performance. This is because the old method would check all branches of a smart contract to determine its network cost, whereas now the node will only count the branches which are actually being used at that time. Long story short, you can now fit more boxes, or UTXOs, into one transaction, and you can fit more transactions into one block with this node. And that's a great thing for Ergo network scaling. The topic of mining pools is an interesting one in the context of the Ergo blockchain. Originally, developers intended not to have them, but some very smart people figured out how to use smart contracts to effectively combine hash among multiple users, and so, as they say, if you can't beat them, join them. Developers opened up mining pools to everyone to level the playing field. The next issue, though, was Nanopool having way too much hash power, increasing centralization, which was enough of a threat to worry developers. But as more pools have come online, that is now less of a problem. Our next guest launched the first smart pool on the Ergo blockchain, getblock.io, and it's based entirely on smart contracts. Rob, one of the managing partners on the getblock.io team, who does a lot of the content about getblock.io, and Kirat, a core developer on the getblock.io team. Gentlemen, thank you both for giving us some of your time today.
Thank you, James. Good to be here.
Rob, let me start with you. What's the story with getblock.io? How was it formed, and how did you assemble the team?
Sure. Well, it all kind of just happened, honestly. It was like it just was meant to be. Getblock.io itself was founded by Vinny Lima, also known as All Cloudy in socials. And basically, the company was created to provide blockchain-based solutions for real-world challenges, through our innovation of education, validation services, software development such as smart contracts. The mining pool itself started as, a bunch of us got together, myself, Vinny, and Kirat, through the Ergo community. So we started off as a few Ergo miners looking to share mining tips, ideas, concepts, things of that nature. At the same time, Kirat was in process of building subpooling. And from there, we just built on this concept of providing a transparent mining pool with decentralized goals in mind. So it only made sense to brand this concept under the getblock.io name.
So I know getblock.io is based on smart contracts, but maybe at least on a high level, kind of explain how that all works.
Sure. So, very high level, we develop smart contracts on the Ergo blockchain, and those contracts have been integrated with our mining pool. So the contracts themselves are utilized to process most of the data on chain, which in itself provides a higher level of transparency as well as security versus standard mining pools that are out there currently. In addition to that, we've utilized the smart contracts for other use cases, which we'll get into it a little bit later, but things like proof of vote, hash rate for harmony, and now subpooling.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about subpooling? What is subpool mining?
Sure. So, I mean, my default explanation is always, it's a series of mining pools within our mining pool. But really, it's so much more than that. I mean, the one way to look at it is think of it as a community of mining pools. So what our framework offers is the ability for anyone to create their own mining pool, whether it's an individual miner, a group of friends, or even, someone who's looking to build it for a purpose, such as a special cause or, a dedicated project. So, they have the flexibility to create their own payout schemes, fee structures, and even control emissions if they have a token or NFT that they're looking to distribute. So what it does is it creates this amazing social environment around mining. And we've seen miner-based sub-communities form and support projects such as Anita BTC, all while continuing to support the Ergo blockchain.
So, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. This is kind of off the script here, but it sounds a lot like a DAO. What's the difference between what you're doing and a DAO?
So the difference between a DAO and what we're doing is we're basically just providing, flexibility to miners themselves. So it's not like we're creating this organization and we're looking for consensus and all that. That may come in the future. But it's a little bit different where at this point in time, we're really just offering a service or a platform for these projects or for miners to come onto our platform and literally build their own mining.
Awesome. Now, Karat, as a core developer, I'm dying to ask you about the scaling solution getblock.io is working on. It's called Plasma, right? Can you talk a little bit about how it's going to work?
Yeah, sure. So Plasma is kind of a scaling solution using AVL trees. And AVL trees are kind of just these big data structures that let you store really huge amounts of data and compress them into like a single 32-byte string that kind of contains all the data and keeps track of any changes made to it. So in terms of Plasma, we're creating this library called getBlock Plasma that's kind of going to help developers integrate AVL trees into their smart contracts, into their off-chain code. For us specifically, it's pretty important because we need to pay out miners, we need to service miners as quickly as possible. So just doing some basic tests, we found that Plasma lets us get a nearly 15 to 30 times increase in payouts. Went from like one transaction paying out 10 miners to a single transaction paying out now 300 miners on Plasma. So yeah, it's a pretty big improvement, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see once it comes out.
Well, Karat, Wen Plasma, when is it going to go live?
So like I said, we've been doing some decent tests in the pretty recently, I'd say, and now it's really just about kind of figuring out the contract designs, figuring out a few more benchmarks to see how Plasma will scale up for our pools. So given that, I'd say maybe 1 to 2 weeks before our Plasma-based contracts are out, and really maybe like a few days until the beta version of the getBlock Plasma library is out.
It's very possible this stuff will be live by the time this show airs. That is really impressive. Can you talk about some of the use cases getblock.io has solved?
Yeah, of course. So I'd first start off with proof of vote, which was kind of our first in-way into distributing tokens on our mining pool, along with empowering miners. So the goal with proof of vote was to sort of democratize our pool and allow miners to mine tokens according to their hash rate that they could then use to vote on EIP27. And through that, miners all voted using these vote tokens, and they voted for yes on our pool. And the proof of vote protocol that we made kind of ensured that we stayed true to that vote. After that, we kind of implemented a different thing called hash rates for harmony, which was sort of almost like a beta version for subpools, and also kind of showing off how we can use mining to help people in need. So essentially, people would go to almost like these virtual subpools and set their hash rate pointing towards it, and all this erg that was accumulated from this hash rate would go off to these different charities and different places to donate. Then our biggest project to date probably has been subpooling, and I'm sure you've already heard about that. But I think with the new Plasma upgrades that will be coming to it, and some upcoming new projects that'll be kind of making their own subpools, it has a bright future ahead of it.
It sounds really incredible. One last question for each of you. Rob, I understand an upcoming getblock.io feature will be the ability to mine NFTs. Now, how are you making this possible, and when will this open up to Ergo miners?
Sure. So, I mean, in theory, it's currently possible now, right? So, I mean, if you take a NITA BTC, for example, right, that's a subpool that we formed, and we're distributing their NETA tokens. Now, those tokens are going through our smart contracts, and what many people don't realize is there are two types of tokens, right? There's non-fungible, and then there's fungible tokens. So NETA would be considered a fungible token, right? Non-fungible tokens are more commonly known as NFTs and are generally best known for, digital art, right? But both can be used as artwork as well as many other use cases as well. So the difference is a non-fungible token would have its own unique token ID for each token that is minted, whereas a fungible token has a singular token ID for multiple tokens. So since all of these tokens are minted on the Ergo blockchain, they're considered native assets and can be distributed by the smart contracts, just as we would NITA BTC or any of the tokens that we're currently distributing on the mining pool. As far as availability, obviously, I think we have a few projects that are kind of in queue right now that we're focusing on, and obviously focusing on the scalability with Plasma. So I would say this would be something that will probably be a future use case that we'll launch, unless, a project decides that that's something that they want to do within their subpool, in one of our, current coming ventures.
Yeah, it's real easy to kind of get the NFTs and fungible tokens mixed up. I was actually talking to Frosty an interview ago, and I asked him about the wrapped Bitcoin, and I was like, is that just going to be NFT based? And he's like, it'll be fungible, and I'm like, All right, Karat, last question. Can you talk about hash rate lending? What exactly is this, and how will this help miners? And they'd be the end users for this, right?
Yeah, so really it's not just about miners, it's about investors too. So hash rate lending is kind of just a way to trustlessly allow miners to sell their hash power to investors looking to use it to, gain ERG over time, or with all of these new subpools coming out, gain different project tokens over time. So we haven't finalized anything, but I've been thinking of kind of two different ways to go about it. You could kind of have hash rate bonds in a way where investor could pay a miner some ERG right now, and they get access to some rewards gained through hash rate over a set period of time. So that's one method. And then another possibility that we're looking into is kind of like tokenizing hashes themselves in a way. So you could kind of tokenize hashes and then have these subpools sell their hashes out to different investors, and investors can buy them and gain the rewards from those hashes and kind of accumulate all those rewards over time.
Yeah, you're just blowing my mind here. Like some of this stuff I haven't even imagined, and when I hear it, it's like bonds. Wow, hash tokens, that's crazy. Crazy stuff. You guys are very smart gentlemen. Core developer at getblock.io, Kirat, and managing partner on the getblock.io team, Rob. You have another partner, Vinny. Maybe next time we can meet him and discuss progress on this project. Thank you both for your time today.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you guys.
Back in May, the Ergo Foundation co-presented Ergo's 4th hackathon with sponsors of this show, ErgoPad. It ran for just over 3 weeks and featured prizes worth over $18,000 in SIG USD and 180,000 ErgoPad. Well, the results are in, and taking first place is the multi-sig team. They submitted a proposal to develop a new multi-signature wallet. They designed the wallet and successfully used a QR code to sign a multi-sig transaction. They then developed a server for communicating data between wallets, which was able to successfully generate a multi-sig transaction. Taking second place was the Oracle Pools version 2 project. This single-member team sought to build a minimum viable product of version 2 of the Oracle Pools as described in Ergo Improvement Proposal 23, and was able to implement 3 core operations for the pools. Work will continue implementing more operations as well as deploying a working pool on testnet. Placing third was the ErgoSock Ergo Nodes team. Ergo Nodes uses ErgoSock to crawl the entire Ergo network and map out all the important details about its current state. With the help of Ergo Nodes, it's easy to find information about the state over time, the state and information of specific nodes, and the growth rate. It's an important metric to measure the robustness of the network. The community voted on their favorite projects, and Night Owl, the decentralized casino, was the most popular, followed by Azoros, then Ergo GraphQL, followed by Ergo Nation, and finally Dapstep. The next Ergo Hack is slated for September. Be sure to check out the link in the description of this newscast for more. Non-fungible tokens continue to thrive despite bear market conditions. And while the NFT explosion paved the way for all kinds of artists to monetize their work, many scammers saw an opportunity in counterfeit NFTs. Our next guest goes by CryptoQuokka, and he and 2 others on the development team saw the problem and took action, creating SkyHarbor, an NFT marketplace featuring verified NFT collections, price histories, and set price trading. Quokka, thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First, can you start by telling me the story of SkyHarbor? How did your team assemble and how did you decide on this project?
Yeah, well, I've been in the Ergo NFT space for about a year, the NFT space for a bit longer than that. But after I started working on Ergosaurs, which is an NFT project, I talked with a lot of artists, and I realized that there needed to be a instant sale secondary market on Ergo. And I waited around for other people to kind of, I guess, the Cardano ecosystem to kind of pick up Ergo and do NFTs there. But when I realized that that's not going to happen anytime soon, I hit up, some of the best devs I know, and we started SkyHarbor.
Now, has the problem of counterfeit NFTs been solved? And if so, what problem are you trying to solve now?
I don't think the problem with counterfeit NFTs are solved. It's definitely better now because of SkyHarbor verification, but now we have room for more complicated scams, like until somebody can create a cross-chain NFT scam tool that's 100% accurate, that can tell you that this has been minted somewhere else on any other chain. I don't think that problem will be solved. But right now we're out of the blatantly obvious scams of people recreating Ernomes. Now we're just on people taking scams from other collections, low-key stuff that maybe we wouldn't really know, and using that on Ergo. Not only that, there's also projects that offer a lot. They have the art, you buy the art, they offer a lot, but then let's say they disappear, they don't do anything. There's scams like that we can't really prevent. So we really want the community to actually help us find these scams, give us proof and submit that, because we're a 3-man team, we're working on features all the time, so we can't be on it 24/7. So help from the community is always accepted.
Yeah, it's probably always going to be a cat and mouse game for as long as crooks are going to be around.
Yeah.
Any plans for SkyHarbor to support fungible tokens or even utility NFTs, like say an ErgoPad staking key? It represents all the ErgoPad I'm staking, so it has mathematical value. You think SkyHarbor could support something like that?
I think SkyHarbor could definitely support something like that. We actually already support fungible tokens, but fungible tokens with images. So we currently we grab all the NFTs and we only display the ones with, artwork. involved. So let's say you have 1,000 of a token with an image, you can actually sell one of those 1,000. But we'd recommend a DEX for that. But for the future, we do see a lot of utility NFTs in the future of Ergo. And we're working with a bunch of community devs and on how to improve the EIP for Ergo NFTs, the Ergo improvement proposals, to include kind of more stuff for utilities or even, our NFTs where you can add multiple files to the images or to the NFT in general. And that's going to be fun. That's coming out soon, but we definitely do want to support utility NFTs in the future. And if we ever see a project that's, that shows worth, we want to communicate and talk with them to see how SkyHarbor can accommodate what they need.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the services SkyHarbor offers users?
Yes. Well, right now we have the instant buying and selling of NFTs. We have bulk listing where you can select a bunch of NFTs in your wallet to sell all at once. We also support, what is it? We support SigUSD, but we support buying and selling with pretty much any Ergo token that we can put on. We just made it SigUSD for now because we wanted to show that it's possible. And we also want the value of the royalties for artists and stuff to actually be worth something. So not just some meme coin. We have that. We have marketplace data where you can see previous sales of NFTs, the floor price of a collection. And you can also view any token you want by adding the token ID to the URL on the token page. So we support all that.
Now, not too long back, someone accidentally bought an NFT for 95,000 ERG, thinking they were buying one for 95. Do you see this kind of thing as a problem? And is there any chance SkyHarbor could offer like guide rails or refunds for this kind of situation?
Yeah. So right now we're just going to add like a quick pop-up before you buy something over X amount of ERG, some crazy number, like not 95,000. I think that's rare, but like probably over like 5,000 ERG. We'll be like, are you sure? Other than that, we do actually believe it's possible to add refunds for NFTs on Ergo with Ergo NFTs. And that is on our roadmap, like in the future. And I can mention that later, but it's possible. And I think it's a good idea to add.
Cool. Now, SkyHarbor is closed source. A lot of times this can be a red flag for users and investors. Can you discuss the team's decision to not open up your source code?
Yeah, so at first we wanted some network effect before we released any source code because our worry was anybody could copy our code and then just do better at marketing and then blow us out of the water. So we were afraid of that. And also, we put a lot of work into this. We didn't want our work stolen. It's more paranoia. So I understand why you guys are paranoid. We're not releasing smart contracts. But the thing is, we want to release smart contracts, just not yet. We also consider the entire NFT space as our competition, not just Ergo. So we're not only competing with Ergo Auction House, we're competing with JPEG.store. And in our minds, we're even thinking about OpenSea because, Ergo has a lot of capabilities and we can implement all this functionality for no gas. So I think that's really important. But we're afraid, let's say this big marketplace just sees our code, copies it onto their site, and then they have all their user base already, and then it's over. But now that we're further along, we do want to release the smart contracts. We were waiting for offers to be released first because we want to have people offer X amount of ERG for an NFT, and that requires some changes to the smart contract. And that means we'll have to re-audit every time we make changes. But since offers is like 2 months out, we're thinking we might actually get it audited now. We messaged Kushti already. We're waiting on the confirmation. So those will be out soon. But yeah, another thing is obviously if we release them without being audited, let's say somebody else finds a flaw in the smart contracts, they can, wipe out somebody's portfolio, NFT portfolio or something. We don't want that. But yeah, we're working on releasing soon, hopefully. Depends on when Kushti gets back to us.
I mean, I think that this is such an important answer that you give when talking about open source, because a lot of times people are like, if it's not open source, then it's garbage. It goes against everything that we stand for. And they're not thinking about those 2-3 person teams that have really like blood, sweat, and tears into that source code. And so, I really appreciate that answer.
There's also another issue with this it seems that I've come to be the guy to talk about it, but I do think in the future, when Ergo gets big, and I do think it'll get big, there's going to be a lot of private companies coming in, and they're not going to be open sourcing anything. So if we're too hostile to these people who actually want to provide something to the community, but they're not open sourcing, obviously be skeptical. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I do think it's going to happen in the future where a lot of projects on Ergo are going to be closed source.
All right, talk about fees. How is SkyHarbor making money?
All right, well, for now, we have 2% fees on every buy. So the seller, when they get the money, we take 2% of that to upkeep. But we also have a 0.03 ERG listing fees. So when you go to list an NFT, it's 0.03 ERG. We made it cheap for a reason, but making the images load fast on our site, it gets pretty expensive. So that listing fee was required.
Are artist royalties supported?
Yes, 100%. It is optional for an NFT marketplace to implement that, but we did. We assume every NFT marketplace in the future will as well. They are implemented and you get paid as soon as somebody buys.
Wow. So what's ahead for SkyHarbor, short term and long term?
All right, so short term, we're working on bulk minting, mass minting, mint, 5, 10, 1,000, 10,000 NFTs, hopefully for cheap. And that's going to lead into our vending machine sales processor contract, which once you mint, the X amount of ERG, you can then sell them immediately. Like, let's say we create a smart contract for the NFTs you minted, they send X amount of ERG to the smart contract, and then they get an NFT back. So you wouldn't even need a backend for this sales processor. I'm hoping for. And that's going to be exciting. We call that our launch pad. Soon, we're also expecting offers on NFTs where you see an NFT you like, any NFT. It doesn't have to be sold on SkyHarbor. And then you just click their token or whatever, type in the amount of ERG you want to send, and then it locks that ERG in a contract and they can accept, or you can cancel the offer whenever you want.
Gosh, that would...
And then, what's up?
No, I mean, that's a great feature. I would love to see that on Cardano as well. I've got Cardano Kids Series 1 that I was thinking about liquidating, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I am curious, though, is SkyHarbor only going to support Ergo non-fungible tokens like the foreseeable future, or is it a possibility that you might be supporting Cardano NFTs?
Yes. Great question. We do think it's possible for Ergo to support non-Ergo, cross-chain NFTs. We want to see how the Rosen Bridge goes first, what they do, and if it turns out well, because we would probably be using that as the base for NFT cross-chain or cross-chain NFTs.
And for long-term?
For long-term, we're seeing Dutch auctions. We want those where somebody puts an NFT up for sale and it slowly decreases in price until it reaches the price range somebody wants to pay for. We also want to add P2P trading. That would add a lot to certain communities and kind of combine them. We think collateralized NFTs would be really big, and it's possible on Ergo. Putting up an Ernome for as collateral for a loan. I think that'd be really fun. I mentioned this earlier, refunds on NFTs, where after you buy, maybe you have a 1 week, 2 week grace period to return it. And anything else the community can really suggest. We're very malleable. We want to offer what the community needs.
Yeah, that all sounds amazing. I wish you the very best of luck. Quokka, project manager and front-end developer for SkyHarbor, an Ergo non-fungible token marketplace. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. I'd love to talk to you again in a few months as things progress.
Yeah, can't wait, man. Can't wait to see the progress we've made then.
The very first Tosi Drop Hackathon, affectionately referred to as Tosi Hack, began this week with the intent of spurring Cardano and Ergo ecosystem development. The event is in collaboration with sponsors of this show, ErgoPad. Now, Tosi Drop is a token distribution platform on both Cardano and Ergo, and Tosi Hack aims to onboard promising projects on both networks in the hopes of distributing their token on the Tosi Hack platform. Organizers welcome projects of all kinds to compete, They even give some suggestions on the kinds of projects they'd like to see, like decentralized lending protocols, a dApp wallet, an AI portfolio manager, and a dynamic market maker. Time will tell what projects actually get submitted. Prizes for first, second, third, and community favorites will be eligible for Ergo, eTosi, and ErgoPad prizes. Now we'll link to more information in the description, but stay tuned as we'll go over the winners once they're announced. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for you today. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Feel free to continue the conversation on any of the stories you saw today in the comments section, or if you have an idea on a story or project you'd like to see covered, we'd love to know that too. A very special thanks to sponsors of the show, ErgoPad, and the team behind the scenes helping in so many ways, making this show possible. I'm James Kever. Thanks for watching Proof of Ergo. We'll see you next show.